Okay, great, thank you. I'll open up the regular meeting of council Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 at 7 p.m. We'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Indigenous peoples of the Treaty 7 territory and the Otipemisiwak Métis government, District 4. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada whose presence continues to enrich our community. Okay, item 2.1, the agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay, if there aren't any, can I get a motion?
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion that the agenda be accepted as prepared.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
It's motion carried. Item 3.1, are there any edits to the minutes? If not, can I get a motion?
Chair,
Deputy Mayor?
I move that the September 16th, 2025 meeting minutes be accepted as prepared.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, item 4.1, bylaw 2025-13, direct control district DC2 amendments. It's a public hearing. So I'll just do some opening remarks. Welcome, everyone. This public hearing is held under section 216.4 of the Municipal Government Act. We ask that all attendees turn off their cell phones and address all comments to the chair when called upon. Speakers may present in support or in opposition to the application in an orderly manner. And if you've submitted a letter, only share new, non-repetitive information. When presenting, state your full name and indicate if you're speaking for yourself, another person, or a group. Individuals have 5 minutes. Groups of 3 or more have 10 to speak. And you'll be prompted by the mayor when you have 1 minute remaining of your speaking time. All letters received during the written submission period are included in the agenda package. As per the council procedure bylaw 2025-06, attendees must follow public hearing rules and speak only if registered, maintain order, remain seated, and avoid private conversations. No applause or interruptions to the speakers and or council. The mayor may remove anyone from improper conduct. Hasn't happened yet, so I'm sure it won't happen tonight either. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council on a proposed planning and development matters. Public hearings are formal hearings that must follow rules set out by the provincial and local legislation and allow the public to present their views to council on the item contained with that public hearing agenda. Purpose is not for council to discuss and debate the bylaw, but to listen to the public's views. After the close of the public hearing, council may debate the proposed bylaw or resolution in a regular or special council meeting and may pass a bylaw, make amendments, or defeat the bylaw or resolution. And with that, I hereby call to order the public hearing at 7:03 p.m. Okay, so tonight's public hearing is to consider bylaw number 2025-13, the bylaw to amend bylaw number 2018-05, being the town of Crossfield designation of direct control district, DC2. Council is considering bylaw 2025-13, which proposes to amend the DC2 land use district to include development regulations specifically for the development and operations of plant production, including produce, flowers, specialty plants, decorative plants, indoor plants, ornamental plants, herbs, vegetables, fruits, air purifying plants, and aquatic plants. Today's public hearing notice was posted on the town's public of Crossfield's website and town social media sites. Any responses received in support or opposition during the public hearing notification were included in the agenda package for council's consideration. Okay, order of business. Administration, Steve Altina will introduce and provide an overview of the proposed actions with regards to the redesignation bylaw. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. Just give me a moment to set up presentation. No, not me. All right, good evening, Council. Steve Altina, Director of Infrastructure and Community Growth here to present this item to you. Thank you for the introduction, Mayor. I might repeat a little bit of what you said already. But the purpose of this report is for Council to assess bylaw 2025-13, which concerns the amendment of Direct Control District DC2 bylaw 2018-05 to add support for the development and operations of plant production, including produce, flowers, specialty plants, decorative plants, indoor plants, ornamental plants, herbs, vegetables, fruits, air purifying plants, and aquatic plants, while keeping the original medicinal marijuana production facility use as a potential use. Just for some background, subject lands are located at 1321 Lot Avenue, just north of the town's rodeo grounds. This is the previous 314 Pure Lands. Just a site context, DC2 bylaw 2018-05 was approved for the site and adjacent parcels on May 15th, 2018 to support the development of a medical marijuana production facility. A facility for this use was constructed on the site in 2018. However, the company has since gone out of business and the facility has remained empty until its recent purchase in August 2025. The adjacent parcels immediately east and west have since been redesignated to I-1. So those are this parcel here, if you can see my cursor there, and this parcel over here has been since redesignated to I-1. The development proposal, the current DC2 bylaw restricts use of the site to the production of medical marijuana. The new owner intends to develop the site for plant production, including all the uses that we had listed earlier. And the proposed DC2 bylaw amendments are proposed to support the additional uses as set out in attachment B in the bylaw and as shown in the red line bylaw in attachment C. The new owner has also discussed expansion of the existing production area and the inclusion of cogeneration with administration. Further planning will be required to support these initiatives, and the proposed DC2 bylaw amendments are intended to be an interim measure to allow for production of those plant types to start. Circulation, the application was circulated to relevant agencies and adjacent landowners from August 11th to September 10th, and no comments were received from landowners. Under policy analysis, the administration found the application to generally align with the policies of the town municipal development plan as well as the town land use bylaw. Administration will note two areas of policy within the land use bylaw. Section 8.11.4, the land use bylaw 2018-04 states that medical marijuana production facilities shall not operate in conjunction with another approved use. Administration has interpreted this as this use shall not occur in the same building as other uses due to security concerns and other impacts. Section 7.3 of the proposed DC2 bylaw amendments requires the medical marijuana production facility not to operate in the same building as other uses. Also, section 8.11.4, the land use bylaw 2018-04 states that medical marijuana production facilities must not be within 74.98 meters, that's 246 feet, of a residential or public institutional district. The existing building that is already constructed and has been used previously for medical marijuana production is actually within 60 meters of a public institutional district, the rodeo grounds, and previously operated, of course, as that medical marijuana production facility. So section 7.2 of the amended instead prescribes the setback distances to align with the previously approved facility's location, just to make sure it's clear. When we get to development permit stage, there's no policy misalignment there. With that, administration recommends that following the public hearing, that bylaw 2025-13 be given first reading, second reading, have consideration for third reading, and be given third and final reading. That concludes administration's presentation, and we are available for any questions.
Great, thanks, Director Altina. Questions for Director Altina?
Through the chair.
Councilor Goss.
Thanks, Steve. I do have a question about section 2.1, the uses there, and the change from the original was custodial quarters, and now the change to on-site residential accommodations. What was the request for that? Um, why the change there? Any specific regulations on economy accommodations, including like sanitary provisions or anything like that, with on-site residential accommodations?
Sure, through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, good question. So we did amend the bylaw as well to align better with the current land use bylaw. So the previous custodial quarters term was used in the previous land use bylaw, but then was updated with our 2018-04 land use bylaw to read on-site residential accommodations. That's a minor accommodation, kind of a suite, very, very small, just for one or two people, usually for like security or on-site custodial staff. It's not for large scale residential accommodation, just for kind of on-site custodial and security staff, typically with the use.
So that is the building itself, and that's not something separate that's put on the site. Is that correct?
Well, it's a use, so that use could be considered within the site, whether or not it's built within the principal building or built as an accessory building or an accessory ACO trailer or something like that on the site. That would be up to the applicant to make that proposal. But it is very limited in the actual like residential accommodation purpose.
Okay, so there is specific regulations behind, and I'm not going back to the land use bylaw, but there is specific regulations behind residential accommodations.
Through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, that's correct. Is a defined term in a land use bylaw, which
Yep.
regulates how that is developed as a use.
Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Councillor Knight.
Hey, thanks, Steve. What accountability will this business owner be held to growing a number of fruits or vegetables? There is a concern if there's possibly mushrooms or severe smelling products. With the approval of this bylaw, how can the town keep the comfort of its residents in regards to the odor from this facility?
Thank you, Councillor Knight. That's through the chair. That's a good question. Certainly, the DC bylaw speaks to medical marijuana protection and the containment of odors. We do have this community standards bylaw, which I believe also has wording on odors. There's nothing specific towards the actual containment of odors regarding horticultural nurseries and greenhouse operations. This is a defined term under the industrial land use district. The town does have a current mushroom production facility just off of Lot Avenue, which I think many may not actually be aware of. So it is certainly possible to manage these facilities within a more urban setting without impact. But there's, I think maybe there's nothing specific in the DC to specifically require that, but I can get back to you on, other town policies and plans that may speak to that.
But we do have a limit and a requirement to meet for all of these businesses in terms of whatever fruits and vegetables they have. We have that requirement in our bylaws, right?
So through the chair to Councillor Knight, this use is similar to light industrial use. And light industrial use is meant to not have offsite impacts specifically. So we'd be looking through it through that lens. This area is proposed adjacent to a residential area, and we have other light industrial uses along that area. And so through our land use bylaw, the intent of light industrial is to not have those offsite impacts. So we would still view this property through a similar lens as a light industrial area, essentially.
So if there was concerns or complaints from the residents, what processes could the town incur with this approved bylaw that can help limit or mitigate any concerns of the residents if there are complaints?
I think if council is concerned about that, perhaps council would like an inclusion into the bylaw more specific to those offsite odor impacts.
Fair enough. That's how I feel. That's what I've heard from residents. So that's my question. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, anything further?
No, I think it's a conversation piece. Probably
Yeah.
when we're having a topic part like that. That's answered my question. That doesn't mean we won't have necessarily
Yeah.
a conversation here.
So that's one of the things that I had a concern with too, if it was a mushroom plant. The marijuana plant already has some controls in place for smell, but if this is it has to be in a separate facility, what would those controls be? And would we want to put those controls in place now instead of trying to deal with it through one of our bylaws at a later date? So I thought that was a good question. Anyone else? So I guess, Steve, maybe I'm just curious if we can put something in here, just saying that if, they're growing anything that could produce an odor, that they put in, a filtering system or something that diminishes the smell. And I think the concern is, and maybe it won't get as big, but the mushroom plant to the east of us gets pretty smelly. And you may not be doing it at that scale, but the town feels the impact of that every couple of days.
To add to that, Mayor, me too.
Go ahead.
I think it's the proximity of the houses. I've got a number of friends and people that have reached out to me they were concerned with the marijuana side too. Now, thankfully, it didn't have, they've adhered to the meats. I just want to make sure that if we approve this District 2 change, I just want to make sure that the town has the availability or the reasons in place to hold them accountable to the odors, that's all.
Sorry, through the chair, I'm just looking to the land use bylaw for those particular sections. I think if council feels strongly about that, then we would look to probably make a more direct amendment into that DC bylaw to address those types of things. We'll, I guess, caution council that some of the land is designated I1 right now, which also includes horticultural and greenhouse type. So though those parcels could develop just through approval through the development officer of similar uses as well. So again, we'd look through that light industrial lens, which the intent is to not have offsite impacts. So while, you have an opportunity perhaps now to make that amendment directly into this DC, not to say that the I1 parcels on either side could develop into the same, and it wouldn't necessarily come to council, right? It would be under the rules and regulations of our land use bylaw, which follows I1 rules. So
Through the chair,
Councillor Knight.
is that an opportunity to look at the land use bylaw for the I1 also? Like, not at this time, just for the future council, wherever this is going. Like, and I know we don't want to necessarily get to that factor of dotting the i's and crossing of everything and planting it down there. More of a question of what council's thoughts are when we have some of these areas that are close to town. I'm not saying we have to do that. I'm just talking like, is that something that should be talked about down the future path of wherever this is? Not at this time. Was mostly just a comment.
Right.
through the chair, to Council Knight, and just the council in general, administration would intend to bring back some limited land use bylaw amendments this fall to council. There's a number of pieces of land use bylaw that don't work very well that we want to grab some, like address some of those low hanging fruits. That could certainly be addressed in the I1 district, probably fairly straightforwardly in terms of order control for certain uses. Otherwise, administration will be proposing to council at budget time essentially an overhaul of the land use bylaw for next year as a major project. And so a lot of those things can be incorporated into that major land use bylaw overhaul.
Good. Any other conversation or questions for Director Altina?
Through the chair,
Councillor Gustafson.
I'm glad you brought up the overhaul of the land use bylaw. Just to be clear that once it gets overhauled, everything like I1 will be will fall under that the new land use bylaw. Is that correct, Steve?
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor Gustafson. You said everything falls under the land use bylaw?
Yeah, so once the overhaul is done of the land use bylaw, even though what we're doing tonight will fall under that, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, so this is a direct control district, so it's a specific amendment to these lands specifically, so it'll continue as it is presented to you,
Correct.
even with the change to the land use bylaw.
But the lands on either side will fall under that.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, that's correct. So those I1 lands would then follow the rules of any new rules implemented for
correct.
the I1.
Yeah.
Yes.
But but I think what Counselor Knight is going back to is the direct control. Are we gonna have some holes that we need to plug up? Is that what you're looking for, Counselor Knight? On what, with regards to possible odor?
This chair?
Yeah.
I think my clarification just needs to be that the town is situated in a position where we are able to hold the district to this control part accountable. And I like what we're looking to do and all the rest. I just want to make sure our residents that are living close to that have confidence that the decision we've made today will meet their goals and expectations out of their backyard.
Right. And I'm also curious, maybe when the applicant is up here, they might be able to answer some of those questions to you. Okay. They may already have a plan. I don't know, but we'll see. So, Director Altina, just for clarification, what would your recommendation be for council tonight to add something to the direct control tonight on odor, or to leave it for the bylaw changes?
To the chair, ultimately it's going to be up to council's decision. There isn't anything specific in the bylaw right now regarding, I would say, odors for uses that aren't medical marijuana. It's addressed very specifically for the medical marijuana use. I'd recommend to council that we would at least complete the public hearing and probably do first and second reading. And then either council could direct administration to take it back and add a clause in, or we could take a brief recess tonight to propose an amendment to the bylaw, essentially.
Okay.
So we can do either one of those things. So I think the applicant, you may have some questions for the applicant. I know
Yeah.
they're interested in, they've purchased the facility. They're interested in moving ahead as soon as they can to get production
Of
up and
course.
running.
Yeah.
Which is why we're looking for 3 readings tonight rather than our customary first reading and then to second and third. So
Well, you have 10 minutes while the applicant gets to speak and answer questions.
it's fine.
Awesome. Okay. Any more comments or conversation questions for Steve? Thanks, Director Altina. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Harris.
Okay, now we'll invite the applicant, Brad Murray, up, and they'll make their presentation to council, and you'll have 10 minutes.
I might, I don't know if I.
Sure.
That easy.
If you like, if you got an HDMI port. Yeah.
Why is that button?
Okay, introduce myself, Brad Murray. I'm one of the owners of Energrow Greenhouses. One of the other owners is my brother Darren Murray, sitting here, and there's 4 other co-owners. We obviously took the greenhouse out of bankruptcy. It was a process working with all the parties, and it was about a year in that process, and we finally got it over the edge, and we're ready to go. And because of all the delays, obviously we're chomping at the bit to start producing, start getting revenue going, and so on. So our plan is an agricultural greenhouse, produce, vegetables mostly, and some fruits. And I say fruits because peppers are fruits. not necessarily oranges and apples, right? But
It-
the why isn't that staying up? Um, Probably everybody here has seen the building as you drive down Lot Avenue. This is just a, well, sorry about that.
How's that working tonight, is it?
Let me just try this other way.
I wonder if you go to slideshow, There you go.
Right there.
Yeah, there we go.
should be good.
I'll just skip through a couple slides here just because I want to get to your questions here, but this is what we've got. There's a central building. It was marijuana growing and processing, then there's land around it. This we intend to use as our central facility. It's going to be really good for starting plants from seeds. And then as we expand around it, that's where most of our growing will happen, and there'll be some glass associated with that. It won't just be one enclosed building. One of the reasons that we really like Crossfield is because not only was it a neat facility to get us started on, but the town offers some unique things for us because we want to do our own generation, because obviously greenhouses are intense on energy, heat and electricity. We want to do some of our own generation. There's good access to natural gas here. As we expand the facility, if we want to send produce out by rail, there's good rail here. There's good access to the power grid. And another thing that we want to do is, we've done this before. I did a 26-acre greenhouse in Gull Lake a few years back. And when you make electricity and heat from natural gas, you end up with a lot of extra heat. You have more than you need. So you use it to heat your greenhouse, but then what do you do with the extra? What we want to do here is we want to make it available to the people around us, right? So there's a residential development to the north. We've already started that discussion. Maybe when that does develop, it could have a component of district heating. So it could heat the houses or whatever gets done there with cheaper hot water than natural gas. There's industrial area. It could be used. We've talked a little bit about helping maybe with some treating water, maybe lending some heat to the golf course. So to us, that's why it's a beautiful place here. We can come in and we can do our thing. We can make vegetables in the local market. We've got this beautiful facility to start with now. We could make the top quality product. Crossfield is going to be known for the best strawberries anywhere in Western Canada. That's our goal. And
We'll hold you to that.
yeah. Just really quickly, this is just a picture of some of the stuff inside the greenhouse. You might have already seen it. So obviously, we're going to have to convert some stuff. There's a lot of stuff to work with, but we have to adjust it so it works for vegetables instead of marijuana. One thing we're going to be doing, and another thing that we're going to be known for is when the exhaust comes out of our generators, we treat it. First of all, we drop the temperature from 350 degrees Celsius, which is coming out of the stack, out of your exhaust pipe. And we treat it, drop the temperature down to say 75 Celsius. We treat it so there's no more NOx in it, nitrous oxide. So we take out the harmful part. And then we feed that into our greenhouse, and the plants suck out the CO2. And then just pure nitrogen, pure oxygen will come out the top. So from a CO2 perspective, this is actually what got us into the business in the first place, is how can we do power generation and use the CO2 for something use? It's for growing plants. So there's this whole cycle going on, and we're going to be known for that. This is just a snapshot of the property. The green outlines the land, the facilities in the middle. And the reason I have these red arrows is that's potential how we can share hot water with everybody around us. I've already teased the idea that, you know, we could provide hot water for an outdoor pool if it was located somewhere around where we are. I'm just going to leave it there for now. I've got a few more slides if I needed to answer questions, but I just want to address the odor thing. We might grow mushrooms. That's not our primary. Our primary is the stuff that's really hard to grow. Because we got this controlled facility, we should be able to grow stuff that other people can't. So strawberries is one of them because it's really hard to get a good strawberry local in December. And things like that, we're going to do some specialty tomatoes, some snap peas, some specialty beans. That's our goal, is to grow stuff that's hard to grow. There are some mushrooms that maybe arguably are hard to grow. But our facility is hydroponic, and we're gonna also add some vertical grow towers, which makes it aeroponic because you drip water down inside this column and the roots just grow inside. But we're not using manure whatsoever. And that's what traditionally you grow mushrooms with, right? So if we were to grow mushrooms, it would be based on a wood stock. And that's where how most specialty mushrooms are grown today anyways, is from wood stock. I just visited another greenhouse. It's a marijuana greenhouse in Didsbury that just got bought out by Trafford Farms. Trafford Farms is a bit of an upstart mushroom facility in Calgary. They just brought the Didsbury facility and they're going to expand. It's all mushrooms. But you go through that facility, not a smell of anything because there's no manure. Everything is wood stock. So I just want to ease that fear of there won't be any odors. There's nothing to make odors of. And the existing facility already has a magnificent treatment system. The air comes in, it's filtered, and it's filtered before it goes out again too, right? So there won't be any odors. And I guess I maybe would suggest that amending, if we were to right now try to start amending the DC2 for saying, well, what if there's an odor from mushrooms? What if there's an odor from something else? We could go on and on of all the what ifs. And I think maybe the way to do it is to say we're hydroaeroponic, we're not manure based. So to me, just by stating that and say we're never going to be manure based, I think that just eliminates most, in my mind, all the potential odors. So maybe I could just, I know I'm on 10 minutes here. Could I expand on anything to address any questions you have?
Well, we can, did you want to finish your presentation? Then we'll ask questions. You have a couple of minutes left.
I guess what I wanted to round out with here is that our goal here, and you know, one of the reasons we located here in Crossfield is the opportunity to share our waste heat. We might even be able to share our excess CO2, because the reason we put CO2 in the greenhouse is the normal environment doesn't have enough CO2. So we have to add CO2. All greenhouses add CO2. But so CO2 enhances growth of everything, even outdoor trees. So that we could share CO2 with the park around us, make the trees grow faster. But definitely heat all around, right? And so I just want to emphasize we're here as partners. We want to come in here and we appreciate the site and all the facilities and all the services that the town helps with. But and here's a selfish perspective. By sharing waste heat, we actually get credits, carbon credits, because you're using otherwise wasted heat for something useful. So there is a selfish aspect that comes back to us. This is why we want to share our heat. But people that get shared with get low cost energy, right? And that could set Crossfield apart from a lot of smaller towns. Because, for example, on this bottom arrow here, I have municipal events. There's no reason we can't share heat across the road. We could help heat the stands in the rodeo grounds. We're fantasizing about some sort of all-year driving range at the golf course. It could be heated. When you start thinking about it, our heat is otherwise going to get just wasted out the stack, no use. If all of a sudden you can use it for good stuff, it's so exciting. And where we are here, because we're close to all these things around us, it's exciting to be able to have that opportunity. Like really quickly, in the project I was working on in Gull Lake, we're pretty close to using waste heat to distill water. We're going to take otherwise dirty water from gas wells, oil wells, wherever the dirty water came from, and we'd use the heat to distill the water and then condense it. We'd have a pure distilled water out of otherwise, like energy companies would dispose it underground forever, like TACA does, and so on and so forth. But so that's another avenue we like to go here, because obviously waters and wastewater here is stormwater's big concern. We might be able to help with that, and it could be mutually beneficial. So for us, it's a win-win. And we need to make sure the wins are all around us. So well, that's what I'd say.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
Okay. No.
You're good?
Nope.
All right, let's open it up to questions. And who has questions?
You're the chair.
Counselor Gustafson, go ahead.
Thanks for your presentation there. So just to be clear, the primary goal is power generation. And the secondary, like the byproduct is of the actual greenhouse.
No,
It's the other way around.
other way around.
So how much you're creating power.
Right.
For
For the greenhouse?
the greenhouse.
Yeah. For example, and you'll see this come forth throughout this next few months, is our cogen, and we're looking around 2 megawatts. It's not huge. Two 1 megawatt generators. Our current greenhouse probably takes about 1 megawatt. We're not quite sure, maybe a little bit more. So we would basically have an effective standby. So 1 megawatt would run our greenhouse lights all year, megawatt on standby, and that megawatt would either be used as standby backup, or we could be putting it to the grid.
Okay.
That's how that works. And what our goal is, as we grow, we do that in lockstep, right? We add an acre greenhouse, we might add another generator. That's the goal.
Okay. Fair enough. I thought it was the other way around, is where you're creating power. It's just the way it sounded like we're going to share energy, and the energy that you are is the coolant water that you're using to cool the generator. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
The thing is, for us to make a lot of electricity for our greenhouse, the extra heat that comes with that is more than our greenhouse needs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so we wanted to meet our electrical need. We'll do that. And then we'll use the extra heat for our greenhouse, but then we have extra. And that's what we want to do something good with.
Yeah. So you would be disconnecting from the town system, or the system right now that the building runs on. Is that correct?
No, we'll stay connected.
You stay connected, but you just don't use it. You would use your own power generation.
Yes, in an upset, we would have the ability to pull from the grid, and vice versa, we're able to push to the grid.
Okay.
So yeah, we're fully connected to the grid still.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, not only heat, but there also is noise when it comes to when you have power generation. Now, do we have noise abatement or anything like that, or there's some regulations behind noise with respect to the generation of the power? What do you expect for, I guess, decibels for the power generation that's going to be happening?
The Alberta Utilities Commission has a full set of rules around noise that govern the whole of Alberta. So in order for us to build a power plant, the Alberta Utilities Commission has to approve it, and they're going to dictate the noise. And there's a bunch of rules on that.
Yeah.
You have to do noise studies around how close are the residents, and you got to meet all these guidelines. We'll definitely fall below that. I've done projects prior, and we're very good at putting noise suppression in. What in this case, our tentative plans are to actually put the generators subgrade, so they'll have concrete walls around them.
Yep.
And the greenhouse on top. So yeah, no one's going to hear it. No one will even know we have a generator.
Okay. And last one, for the cooling water, is that potable water that's coming from our existing town source, or are you drawing from somewhere else?
So currently we're connected to the town water.
Yep.
We are. It's not an evaporative system, for the cooling, so it'll be closed loop. And it'll be a glycol system. So, there won't be any waste. And, you know, as we develop our expansion plans, there are plans to put some holding ponds. So we will collect water off our roofs and use that, maybe work somehow with the stormwater situation.
Okay,
But yeah,
that's all I had.
Okay, any further questions?
To the chair,
Counselor Knight?
just a question in regards to past history. I know you mentioned Gull Lake. There hasn't been any concerns for any of the stuff you're doing there with odors, just for our residents to give them a confident feeling that other things that we're doing in other areas is met and exceeded all the requirements.
no, with traditional vegetables, the only odor you might have is if you're composting, and that's a separate issue, right? So, but the actual greenhouse itself, there's no odors. Not when you're hydroponic, aeroponic, right?
We just want it to smell like strawberries. Can you make
what-
that happen?
That's what it'll do to maybe overcome some of the smell coming from the south. But
Great.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
Anyone else?
Through
All
the
right, I don't
chair.
have any, sorry, go ahead.
I just have a question. I don't recall seeing it into the report. Are you doing any retail out of there? Or are you distributing and delivering to other retail?
there's no plans at this time. You know, you'll probably see our stuff at Big Way. That's
Okay.
probably where you'll see it. But no plans. I mean, I don't think so. I think where we'd like to go right now is we'd like to help strengthen Big Way. So we'll support Big Way. All our stuff will go through Big Way, as opposed to trying to have two stores in the same small town. So
Or maybe come to our farmer's market. every once in a while.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because you had said local strawberries, so I was like, okay, well, are you gonna sell them or are you gonna have a supplier? So,
Yeah, you know, and obviously we're starting up, and you know, to go to the bigger stores, we don't have the volume yet. So people like Big Way, the market, that's where you'll see us first at the start. For sure.
Great. Well, I don't have any questions, but I'm certainly glad that somebody has bought that building and is going to make good use of it. And I'm very happy that it is going to be vegetables and plants and flowers and that type of thing. I think that's something that, you know, people in Crossfield can get behind and be proud of. And I really do hope that you grow the best strawberries, and Crossfield gets known for that. So thanks for buying it, and thanks for putting in your application and presenting to us tonight.
Thanks.
Okay. So I'll make a call. For anyone who's in favor of the application to speak. Anybody sign into the registry? Okay. So that's the first time. Second time, anyone for in favor of the proposal? And for a third and final time, anybody who wants to speak in favor? And there's none. Okay, so submissions from the public in opposition, was there any? Okay, so we still have to call it. So is there anybody who wants to speak in opposition? For a second time, is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? And for a third time, is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? And there are none. Okay, and so there's no applicant rebuttal. We should be good. And then we'll move to just a final question period. Any other questions from council for anyone?
To the chair,
Councilor Knight.
I think it's a question to Kansas or the admin staff.
Sure.
is it possible to have that aeroponics part added into the DC2 thing, or is that a requirement, or what's your recommendation to council? That concern that may or may not be in the residents of the DC control. Okay,
To the chair to Councilor Knight, sorry, can you repeat the question?
just, is there a requirement, or you think we should add any sort of clause of the aeroponics part of that? Part towards the DC2 clause, do you think that's a factor or not, or how do we best?
Sorry, is that the odor concern?
Yeah. He just mentioned aeroponics, there's not a requirement there, we're not worried about the part where it's not, fertilizer or whatever you mentioned.
To the chair to Councilor Knight and council, the DC isn't going to be specific enough to determine whether, you know, how they grow things,
Okay.
right, in the facility. So while while the applicant may be growing in a different method, that's not
Yeah.
to say that the building in the future couldn't be sold or have a different owner or a different methodology applied inside how things are grown. So the council would consider that when they're considering
Okay.
the odor question.
Okay.
There's no further questions. We'll close the public hearing and proceed to consider giving bylaw 2025 -13 first, second, and third reading. So close the public meeting at 7:47. And then we're gonna take a short recess before, or are you guys ready? Okay, no recess. I think admin is ready to go. So if you, right, okay. Does council have any amendments to the bylaw?
Through the chair,
Councilor Knight?
I'm not sure I totally understand if there's possible for us to make an amendment to the bylaw from what Steven just said. I don't know if there is possibility to add to that.
To the chair to all of council, council has the ability to amend the bylaw. You know, it has to be done through a motion, right? So what typically what happens, you have a discussion period. So perhaps first reading would be called. And there would be discussion on that first reading. And then should there be a desire to see inclusions into the DC bylaw, then a counselor would make that intent known. Administration would then, you know, present maybe that counselor with the wording that they've come up with. And then that counselor would then make that motion with that wording to the rest of council for their consideration for inclusion into the bylaw. And then we would proceed to first or second reading with that inclusion. So it's up to you, Mayor. You know, council could give it, you know, first reading, and then we could have that discussion. Second reading, again, the three readings are an opportunity for council to you know, council members to interject and add these things in. So
Yeah, we can do first, second reading, and then we can come up with some wording to make an included statement on odor control.
for sure, yeah. And then there'll have to be a council that, you know, champions that. So you know, it's calling first reading, any discussion first reading, and then perhaps a council member comes forward to say, I'd like to see an inclusion in odor control. I'll work with administration to come up with some wording. I'd like to make this motion to move this, and the rest of council would either support or not support that motion.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do first reading.
Okay.
And then if there's a counselor in the room that wants to make an addition on odor control after that, then maybe think about what that wording could look like. And then administration can tighten up that wording for us. That's kind of what I heard.
To the mayor, the administration has some wording prepared, so we're happy to
You have something prepared?
have a quick recess or even, you know, put it on screen, you know, real time.
Sure. Well, let's do this. Let's do
with-
the
with-
first reading, and then we'll just have a quick recess, and we'll chat about that, and we'll put it up on the board. Thank you.
Through the chair,
Councilor Lambert.
I'll make the motion that the bylaw 2025-13 be given first reading.
Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
That's motion carried. Okay, and we'll just take a quick recess. And then if you can,
Who's our champion?
Leave recess.
okay, and then let's make a call for second reading. And then that's where you make your amendment.
So I think, yes, you'd call for second reading, any discussion on the motion.
Yeah.
Councillor Knight indicate his intent to amend the bylaw for that consideration.
Yeah.
Then he would vote on this. Councillor Knight
On
would need
this?
to read out the motion.
Okay.
And then the council would vote on that motion. And then he could move to second reading.
Okay. There we go.
So
I think, Mayor, if you call,
For second
call
reading.
for second reading, any discussion on second reading.
Okay, and let's have a discussion on the second reading.
So I'd like to move the amendment to add into the second reading as the amendment into the overall resolution for this bylaw.
Okay, and then that's a motion, right?
So I think
I think
your
it is.
motion, Council
Okay.
Knight, will be the motion on the board up there. So I would read that out in full. And then council would take a
Yeah.
vote on that motion.
And that motion is outside of the second reading you're trying
That's
to.
right.
Right.
That's right. So that
Right.
would be the addition. And then when council considers second reading,
Yeah.
it would be with that addition in mind.
That's
for
right.
second reading.
Motion that we add the DC2 amendment. Let the following be added as a regulation to section 8.0 special considerations. Any use or activity that has potential to generate odors beyond the property boundary shall prepare and implement an odor management plan to the satisfaction of the development authority The odor management plan shall identify potential sources of odor associated with a proposed development or operations, outline mitigation measures and the best management practices to minimize odor impacts on surrounding properties and public spaces, include monitoring and response procedures for odor compliance, and demonstrate compliance with all applicable provincial and federal environment regulations.
All in favor?
Uh,
That's motion carried. Okay, so we'll move forward to second reading.
To the chair. I
The
move,
late show.
I move that bylaw 2025, being an amended bylaw to the direct control district, bylaw 201805 be brought forward. Oh, sorry, be given second reading with the amendment DC2 provided.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And third reading,
To the chair.
Deputy Mayor.
I move that bylaw 2025-13 being an amending bylaw to direct control district to bylaw 2018-05 be brought forward with third and final reading with the amendments.
And unanimous consent.
I was getting there.
Okay,
With unanimous consent.
great. All in favor?
Aye.
That's motion carried. And third and final reading.
Through the chair,
Counselor Gustafson, go ahead.
I'll move that bylaw 2025-13 be amended. An amended bylaw to direct control district DC2 bylaw 2018-5 be given third and final reading.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Congratulations. We're looking forward to it. Maybe a tour of the facility for staff and council, the new council, once they get in. Would be great. Thank you. Okay, we have another delegation, item 5.1, Fire Services Community Risk Assessment Presentation. Director Russ Nash of Community and Protective Services and Isaac Commandante with Bear Integrated Solutions. Sorry if I hatched your last name.
That's okay. I'm used to it.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. Good evening, council. As Mayor Harris noted, we are here to present the completed community risk assessment to council as information. If council recalls, in the 2025 capital budget, council approved a two-phase project over a 2-year period in 2025 and 26 for the fire department to develop a fire services master plan. So this community risk assessment is the first phase of this project, and it has been completed. So Isaac and his team are here to present the report to council in person. As you know, we got Isaac here, and then online we have Nancy and Tim as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Isaac to take it away.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Russ. Mayor Harris, members of council, my name is Isaac Commandante. I'm the project manager for the Community Risk Assessment and Fire Services Master Plan. As mentioned, this is phase 1 of the completion of the Fire Services Master Plan. Phase 1 was completed last week, and our phase 2 will be started later on this year or early next year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim Beckett, who was one of our project inputs, and Nancy McDonald, who was actually our project lead. Tim will be presenting virtually online, if you guys are okay with that. Okay, Tim, take it away.
Thank you, Isaac. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm sharing my screen here. Is everybody able to see the screen there?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, as Isaac said, we're currently working through a multi-phase project here, the community risk assessment, phase 1. When we talk about the community risk assessment, we were really focused on the fact that this becomes a foundational document that really starts to inform decisions related to fire protection within your community. As we worked through the CRA, we optimized our methodology around public education, fire prevention and code enforcement, and line 3, which is the emergency response. So the CRA will help to inform decisions related to different programs within the Crossfield Fire Service. We identified a number of risks. We applied a evaluation tool looking at probability and consequences of those risks. So probability is like the likelihood of an event occurring, and the consequences, if an event did occur, what are the potential impacts for the community? And with that methodology, then we were able to look and address high risks, moderate risks, and low risks within the community. We utilized a process that looked at 9 profiles within Crossfield, and I'm not going to go through them all, other than just highlight them on the screen. With geographic, the building stock profile, critical infrastructure, demographics, your public safety and response profile, community services profile, natural hazards profile, economic profile, and past loss and event history. So this wasn't a quick, let's come in and have a quick look. This was a detailed analysis on what we saw through a number of different lenses within your community. Coming out of this review, we were able to identify 23 risks. 15 of them were moderate, 5 were high, and 3 were low. As well as the identified risks, we also found 25 key findings, and these key findings can either be strength in the organization's response, where we wanted to flag it, to identify it, or they're trends that are happening within the municipality that aren't necessarily risks right now, but they're trends that should be continued to be monitored to ensure that they don't become risks, or if they do become risks, then there's mitigation factors that could be considered. So the balance of this presentation, we're just going to summarize quickly the identified risks. So when we looked at the geographic profile, really there are 3 high-level areas that we looked at, and one of the biggest geographic concerns is the road network. And it contributes to your emergency call volume due to motor vehicle collisions and vehicle fires. You have a number of provincial highways that you cover, and in addition, you also have a contract with Rocky View County. Major spills and dangerous goods are possible and were identified as a concern as they are traveling throughout the road network. Also, you have the CP Kansas City rail lines that run through the municipality. These create a number of different considerations for us that we looked at, and one of them is creating a grade crossing level concerns, both from delays in fire response, but also impacts that it could have with vehicle and train collisions. Also prominent is the movement of dangerous goods on the line, and those are things that we always look at and consider. And the last issue around geographic is the issue with wildfires and some of the urban interface structures that you have within the community. When we look at the building stock, residential buildings are the key focus within this risk. You have a large percentage, as is seen in a lot of municipalities around residential buildings. We also identified that about 40% of these buildings were built prior to the National Building Code being adopted in 1990. And that's something, not to say that the buildings are unsafe, but just something to be considered, that the safety factors built in for fire protection might not have been considered pre 1990. New homes now are being built with lightweight construction. That's a concern. Now, homes, I'm not suggesting that the homes are unsafe, but when you introduce fire to lightweight construction, that creates a huge risk that for fire suppression activities, and things can happen quite quickly when dealing with residential fires with lightweight construction. We have a number of properties that were identified with potential high fuel loads. Those are identified so that the fire department then can take other considerations from a pre-planning perspective. And there's 2 registered vulnerable occupancies that we've identified within the municipality. When we look at your critical infrastructure, obviously the water system is something that needs to be reviewed and monitored from a risk perspective. And if it's compromised either due to human or natural issues, it could have a huge impact on firefighting water that's required for suppression activities. When we looked at the demographics, the population within Crossfield has steadily increased, and will look at continued growth. We also identified the aspect of pre-seniors, age 55 to 64, is a quite high percentage. And the reason why we flagged that is because those pre-seniors then turn into seniors, and the seniors have been identified as the most vulnerable when it comes to fire-related injuries and deaths in the province. We also identified that newcomers, you're seeing some growth in there with about 7.4%. And that just gives us an opportunity to identify potential public education opportunities to work with those newcomers. The economic aspects of a single fire or an emergency event of great significance can have an impact on the community, and a number of the economic drivers. Not saying that all fires will have an economic impact, but we identify this, that a single fire may have a significant magnification, could have some issues or concerns. We looked at the past loss and event history, and current, the current information that we were looking to gather around working smoke alarms. It's not captured by CFD, and that's not a that's something that we identify as an opportunity, not necessarily as a negative, but an opportunity to gather this information around working smoke alarms. And we know that working smoke alarms save lives. So therefore, by capturing, at different scenes, if a working smoke alarm is present, we can utilize that information and look at other mitigation strategies. Emergency calls we saw a steady increase up until 2024. And we do note that the decrease in fire calls in 2024 has some relation to the council decision around medical responses. We note that just to, as through our data, when we see a large growth and then a spike, we then take a deeper dive in to try to understand what is the cause of that. The risks that we've identified throughout here, I would suggest, are not not overly alarming for a municipality your size. They would be, I guess, considered, consistent with, municipalities such as Crossfield. But as I said, this provides us an opportunity to use the CRA as a foundational document as we continue to work on The master plan, it will provide opportunities to look at risk mitigation strategies within that master plan and also evaluate the fire service based on the risks that have been identified. So through the chair, that completes our presentation. Again, like to thank the opportunity that we had to work with your staff, very professional and something that you should be very proud of.
Through the chair, that concludes our presentation for tonight.
Excellent, thank you. So at this time, we'll just open it up for questions from council. Any questions?
Through the chair.
Councillor Knight?
The comment on there was working smoke alarms that the town captures. Are there any municipality that actually captures that data?
So through the chair, there are municipalities that will capture it. The province will capture some of that data, but at a very higher level. So we weren't able to necessarily define it specific for Crossfield. Again, we see this as an opportunity that we could build into something that could occur. There's lots of examples out there across the nation on programs and identifying working smoke alarms. So something that we see as an opportunity.
Okay, one more question. It mentions that Crossfield make sure the reservoir is full with the MVCU. I think the SCADA technology and the joint work, I think that might be better said that the commission works together, control the levels of the reservoir, because I do believe the water commission actually controls our reservoir levels. Just a bit of a small clarification of the note right there. We don't actually control it ourselves. I believe with SCADA use, the commission actually makes sure our reservoir is full. Does that sound right, Russ?
To the chair, to Councillor Knight. So the commission is ultimately responsible for filling a reservoir, but of course we monitor the levels of that reservoir and work closely with the commission to identify any deficiencies and take corrective action. So, yeah.
Through you, Chair, we to the councillor, we will review that and with staff and make the appropriate changes as required.
It's minor, that's all.
So I'm just curious, like, again, on the smoke alarms, is it more of an education program, or is it actually ensuring that we have every household has a working smoke alarm and capturing those numbers?
Through the chair, I'm not sure if the chief wants to speak to that or.
Yeah, Dax, if you have an answer, I'll take your answer.
I don't mean to throw you under the bus, sir.
Well, we can't let him off the hook totally, right? Yeah, if you can.
With regard to the smoke alarms, a lot of times the data was captured by asking the firefighters that were first on scene if they actually heard an audible alarm. Nowadays with alarm companies, your Telus and your Rogers, we'll know if there's an alarm activated because it'll come part of our run. Historically, houses that didn't have pre-wired smoke detectors, we would have the battery ones installed, and really it was an audible alarm. We would have to hear it and make note of it when we arrived on scene. Generally with firefighters, it was, pay attention to 900 things, and sometimes it was missed.
Yeah.
As much as we can get that data, we will. We have to ask, the neighbors, did you hear the smoke alarms? And they may not remember them. So it is some of these pre-1990 homes. It is a bit of a difficult to get that information. But again, we've proven that smoke alarms do save lives. And that's why during Fire Prevention Week, we are out there with, portable smoke detectors of the kind that we can give homeowners to add to their houses. And we will check anybody that asks. So.
And just remind people, when is
Fire
Prevention Week?
Yeah, October.
October.
We're coming around.
That's right.
We have to alter things with the unfortunate teacher strike, but we think it's a good time to actually engage with the community. So we're going to shift our focus slightly. Hopefully we'll get the kids in November, but we are looking at a community engagement program. We're scrambling right now to build something up.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Second question for me. you noted that there's a considerable risk of wildland fires in areas of urban interface. Can you just explain that just a little bit? Based on what's in Crossfield?
Yeah, through the chair, when we look at urban interface, we look at, you know, where, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a large forest. It can be vegetation, large vegetation. And it's where it abuts up to, you know, residential areas and or urban areas, and urban, I mean suburban town type situations. And that's where if a fire was to occur in this urban or in this wildland area, the impacts that it could have and the spread to the urban area or the built up residential area, you know, it becomes a concern because the fire could spread very quickly without warning. The embers and the ash that blows, the sparks, could ignite homes, you know, several over. We've seen a lot of that in out in BC, northern Alberta, out through Ontario, where, you know, a number of you know, towns and municipalities were lost, and it was because of the urban wildland interface. And these are pieces again that you know, we'll look at opportunities to address some mitigation strategies in the master plan based on the risks that we were able to identify.
Okay, you're not including agricultural land in the wildland, though. Wildland is that, or are you?
Agricultural land can be considered as part of wildland because you know, you could have large hay fields, you could have large you know, that once those get going, they can move fast, and especially if they're wind driven. So, you know, things like that we will consider, yes.
Yeah, I guess if that's what's included in the wildland, then that makes sense.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't think that we had too many forests or trees or anything here other than Veterans Park. So
Yeah, no, it includes the agricultural, you know, any like green land, you know, greenfield
Okay.
land.
okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, no other questions. So thank you for this. I'm glad we're started on this. It'll help our fire department plan better for future. Thanks for your presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, who'd like to make a motion?
Through the chair,
Deputy Mayor.
I move that council accept the community risk assessment for information as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, item 6.1. Franchise fees. Our very own CFO, Amber Ouellette.
Okay. Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here today to present two reports, the first of which is the franchise fees. This report is to provide council with information pertaining to the proposed natural gas franchise fee increase in Crossfield. Franchise fees are a reliable source of non-property tax revenue used to fund municipal operations. Tonight, I'm seeking 3 motions from council: that the town of Crossfield increase the natural gas franchise fee from 20% to 25% effective January 1st, 2026. That notice be given to ATCO Gas and Pipeline Limited no later than November 1st, 2025. and that administration execute and complete all required documentation and advertising requirements to enable consideration of approval by the Alberta Utilities Commission. So I'd like to provide some background and context to this request. A franchise agreement is a contract between the municipality and a utility company that allows the company to use municipal land and right-of-ways to deliver services to residents and businesses. In return, the utility company pays the town a franchise fee, a percentage of the utility's distribution and transmission charges. This fee is set by the municipality and is shown on utility bills. I would like to be clear that franchise fee is not a tax. They're a user fee, meaning they're based on how much of the utility system is used, not applied equally to everyone like property taxes are. These fees help make sure that all properties that benefit from utility services, including tax-exempt properties like churches, schools, government buildings, and seniors' lodges, contribute towards the cost of municipal services. The Alberta Utilities Commission confirms that franchise fees are a user fee and not a tax, and many Alberta municipalities use them to diversify revenue and reduce the reliance on property taxes, promoting fairness in how municipal costs are shared. Increasing the natural gas franchise fee from 20 to 25% aligns the town with regional averages. If council chooses to adjust the franchise fee, the town will advise ATCO of the new rate on or before October 15th in order to take effect for the next calendar year. And finally, financial implications. Increasing the ATCO natural gas franchise fee from 20 to 25% will increase franchise fee revenue by an estimate of $69,300, equivalent to 1.3% property tax revenue increase. The estimated annual impact for an average residential home is an additional $30 per year or $2.51 per month. And that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Amber. Questions about the franchise fee?
Through the chair.
Counselor Knight.
Thanks for the presentation, Amber. I know that we say franchise fees aren't a tax, but they're a fee to the residents. They're still a tax. We can call it however we want. We can paint it whatever we want. My question is there's a deadline of October the 15th. If council didn't push this approved or not, would the next council still be able to make a decision on this and still have the franchise fees if they chose to go forward at the next council meeting that the next council is created? Would that still be possible for 2026?
Through the chair, in order for the change to take effect January 1st, ATCO needs to be notified by October 15th, and advertising needs to occur by November 1st. There's some time in there because the Alberta Utility Commission is also involved. If we fail to meet those deadlines, then I do believe the next potential date for an increase would be April 1st.
Okay, I guess my concern is there's an impending set of new council coming in and the resident fees are all the rest. So I guess I'm hearing that April 1st will be the next time. So and the driving force behind this, are we looking to make a better budget, or we're driving this based on the fact that we're low compared to other towns? Is that the driving force behind this?
Well, certainly through the chair, the recommendation is to bring us up to the average of our regional comparators, which is they're currently at around that 25% range. So Didsbury and Carstairs are at 25%, and oftentimes we like to benchmark ourselves against those folks.
Okay, I'm not sure that's a driving force I can sign off on my side as a counselor, that we're just trying to be comparable, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay, any other questions?
Through the chair.
Counselor Gustafson.
I totally disagree with this trying to be the average. And, you know, are we trying to make up a shortfall here? What are we really trying to do? I do appreciate your presentation, Amber. But I don't know if we're going in the right direction here. You know, you've got in your report there, a box checked off, sustainable community growth. Can anybody explain that to me, what it really sustainable community growth is about? Is that where we're driving this this increase?
Yep, through the chair, I believe that this report supports sustainable growth and that we're providing sustainable revenue sources that are not dependent on tax and assessment growth. So it's diversifying and lowering the risk of our revenue streams as a whole, and providing additional payers to contribute to that base, whereas through the tax base, as I mentioned in the report, there's several exempt properties that aren't contributing to the cost of municipal services.
Yeah, I can appreciate. We still are, we are using the current 20%. Those payers are currently paying regardless right now. Like, you know, for example, the church, churches or whatever, like, you know, that are property tax exempt,
Mhm.
that they're already paying. So do you know, and maybe this is, I don't know if you would have this on hand, how much do we collect currently in total on that 20%? I was trying to do the math backwards, but I just didn't have enough time to do it.
Yep, at the
Current 20%.
current 20%, our estimated fees for 2026 is just over $275,000.
So 275. So on average per household, what would that cost a household right now at 20%?
Oh yeah, just stand by. I might have something like that here. Let me see here. No, I just did it on a,
And kind of where I was getting to is just, you know, we're asking that we're getting to the pay right now. We're just asking them for more, another $30 a year more. I just, you know, people are having a tough time and we're asking for more and are we, the money that we're collecting for that, are we putting that to really good use for those people that, you know, maybe are having tough times? I don't know yet. This one I'm really struggling with, so.
I think CEO Barney might have an answer for you on how much per year on the 20%.
Through the chair, I'm not sure I have a definite answer, but based on the calculations that are provided in the report, with an additional 5% being 30,000 a year, I would say today the 20% is probably about 120 a year.
So 120 per household we're paying on our gas utility. Is
That makes sense.
Yeah.
fair?
Per
And now
year.
and then we're gonna add another $30 to that, so that'd be about 150.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, any further questions?
Do we have I guess we're collecting that money. Do we have a spot that we want to put it? Is it, you know, is it just gonna be a line item or it's just gonna be part of revenue, like what we use it for? Like, I get it, we're trying to get aligned with other communities, but I don't know if we're, I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
through the chair. So, franchise fee revenue as a user fee already exists in our budget, and we do use those funds to largely for transfers to reserve, so to pay for our capital program. So, without you know, without having those access to these funds, we would be really in a tight spot as far as being able to do some of the important work infrastructure wise that needs to be done at the town of Crossfield.
Okay, thank you, Amber.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I do want to make a comment that I do see this as a user fee. Any municipality, including Crossfield, especially at the size we are, we need to have different sources of revenue so that we're able to maintain and fund the things that we do as a town. Even at 1% tax raise, that's only around $50,000. And as you indicated in here at, just over 1% revenue at $69,000, that does fund some capital in our projects. So we have to, find different ways to get revenues for towns, taxes, user fees, grants, all of these things to help us get to those capital projects that we're on. We have a $16 million wastewater project coming up, even though $69,000 or just over $200,000 doesn't feel like a big drop in the bucket. It's all going to contribute to that. I would really hate to see us not vote for something like this and put Crossfield behind so that we have to debenture and it costs us more to put towards these projects. So this is something that I'm going to be in favor of, and I will be voting yes on this.
Through the chair. I guess my only concern here is it's a 2026 budget item. We have a new council coming in. And I get that there's reasons behind all the rest of the ATCO stuff. I just struggle to think that this council that's leaving here in a week would vote for that. And I understand why we'd vote towards it. That's my 2 cents.
Well, what I would say to that, Councillor Knight, is we are the council that's here today.
Yeah.
The presentation is in front of this council, and to defer it off to another council, I don't think is fair.
Can I counter to that?
You can.
I hear you that it isn't fair, but we're gonna put a fee into something else for the next city council, and then I have to take accountability to the fee towards it. That's all the comment is.
And a year from now, they can decide otherwise. Anyone else comments? Okay. Any further discussion? No further questions? Okay, who would like to make a motion?
Through the chair,
Deputy Mayor?
I move that the town of Crossfield increase the natural gas franchise fee from 20% to 25% effective January 1st, 2026.
Okay, all in favor? I can't see. Okay, motion carried. Opposed? Yeah. Motion carried. Okay, second motion.
Through the chair,
Councillor Lambert?
I move that the notice be given to ATCO Gas and Pipeline Limited no later than November 1st, 2025,
Okay,
as to the increase.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Uh,
Motion carried. And the final motion.
Through the chair,
Deputy Mayor?
I move that administration execute and complete all required documentation and advertising requirements to enable consideration of approval by Alberta Utilities Commission.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 6.2, offsite levy reallocation. Amber, you're still in the hot seat.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the purpose of this report is to request council's approval to reallocate offsite levy balances to deferred revenue. This adjustment will better align the town's reserve reporting with the requirements of PSAT or PS 3400, the revenue accounting standard. I'm seeking two motions: that council approve the reallocation of $1,626,899.21 of offsite levy balance to deferred revenue to align with the town's reserve reporting and with PS 3400 revenue accounting standard, and that council approve the reallocation of $990,776.33 of offsite levy balance to the capital project new capital reserve. So some of the background on this report is during the 2024 year-end audit, the town's auditors noted that the way offsite levy funds were being accounted for didn't fully align with PS 3400. As part of their findings, they asked administration to take a closer look at the offsite levy balances through 2025. In response, administration reviewed all offsite levy projects to confirm which ones were completed and which were still in progress or to be started at a later date. The town also worked with BDO Canada LLP, our external auditors, for technical guidance. Under PS 3400, offsite levy contributions can only be recognized as revenue once the related projects have started. Because of this, the town needed to reassess how these funds were recorded. This is simply a recording activity, a financial accounting sort of exercise here. The review found that offsite levy funds set aside for projects not yet started should be moved into deferred revenue until the work begins. Funds that are no longer restricted for offsite levy purposes because the projects have been completed will be transferred into a capital reserve where they can be used to support future infrastructure projects. That concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Amber. Questions for Amber? Councillor Guston, go ahead. No, you're good?
No.
Okay. If there's no questions, any discussion? Okay, if you'd like to make a motion then,
Through the chair,
go ahead.
I move that council approve the reallocation of $1,626,899.21 offsite levy balance to deferred revenue to align the town's reserve reporting with the PS 3400 revenue accounting standard, and that council approve the reallocation of $990,776.33 offsite levy balance to the capital project new capital reserve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thanks, Amber.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, item 6.3, Crossfield and District Recreation Board reappointment, Director of Communication and Protective Services, Russ Nash.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So the purpose of this report is for council to consider the reappointment of current Crossfield Recreation Board member Brianna Dunlop, whose term came up earlier in 2025. Brianna is a current member of the Crossfield District Recreation Board and has requested to be reappointed to the board as a member at large from the town of Crossfield. Per the current rec board policy, section 6.1 states all recreation board members shall be appointed for a 3-year term. And section 6.4 states new appointments and reappointments for members at large may be made at any time throughout the year as necessary to fill vacant board positions. Brianna has been a valuable member at large from the town of Crossfield since April 2022, and she has requested to remain on the board to continue contributing as a volunteer of the Crossfield District Recreation Board. And that concludes my report to council. Here for questions.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions, but she's been a really good asset to the Recreation Board. She attends all the meetings. She has good input, so I had no issue with reappointing her. Any questions for Russ? Okay, if there's no questions, who'd like to make a motion?
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I'll move to make the motion that council reappoint Brianna Dunlop to the Crossfield and District Recreation Board for a 3-year term expiring October 2028.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's motion carried. Item 6.4, municipal enforcement policy bylaw and plans summary. Director Russ Nash.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. Yes, so the purpose of this report is to provide council with information regarding the bylaws, policies, and plans that guide the duties and responsibilities of the community peace officers and bylaw enforcement officers who are employed by the town of Crossfield. Give council just a little refresh and background on some of the differences between
community peace officers and bylaw enforcement officers. They do provide similar services related to municipal enforcement. Related to local municipal enforcement. There are some differences with their scope and authority. The following, or the table that's before you, illustrates those differences. So some of those key differences are their authority. So the community peace officers are appointed through the Provincial Solicitor General under the Alberta Peace Officer Act, while bylaw enforcement officers are appointed by the municipality under the Municipal Government Act. Their scope, peace officers can enforce both provincial statutes as well as municipal bylaws, and the provincial statutes are listed on their appointments that they receive, so they can only enforce those specific statutes. Whereas bylaw enforcement officers, they can only enforce municipal bylaws. Community peace officers cannot deal with criminal code matters either. Their training, community peace officers must complete provincially approved training and meet standards set by Alberta Justice and Solicitor General, while bylaw enforcement officers do not have a specific or province-wide standard for training. Their oversight, community peace officers are governed and monitored by the Solicitor General, and they're supervised by the municipality, while bylaw enforcement officers are managed only by the municipality that employs them. Typical duties, community peace officers include traffic enforcement, dangerous goods enforcement, animal control, liquor and tobacco enforcement, municipal bylaw enforcement. While municipal bylaw enforcement officers, they typically do parking enforcement, property and community standards enforcement, noise complaints, and animal bylaw enforcement. Currently, the town employs one community peace officer to respond to public complaints and questions, as well as provide education and enforcement of provincial statutes and municipal bylaws. In the past, the town has also hired a seasonal bylaw enforcement officer to assist with municipal bylaw matters during the summer months. Crossfield also has an enhanced RCMP position provided through the Airdrie Provincial RCMP Detachment. Among several other duties, this position assists with community policing initiatives, so items such as engagement with the youth, seniors, businesses, as well as traffic enforcement and investigation of criminal matters. Administration recently undertook a review of the bylaws, policies, and plans that direct the various duties, processes, and procedures that the town's community peace officers and bylaw enforcement officers undertake. And the table in front of you summarizes those documents. I'm not going to go through all of those. Most of them are fairly self-explanatory. We do have bylaws in place that provide guidelines on their duties and authorities. Of note, the community peace officer bylaw is not a required document for the peace officer program, but it does contain information that is required by the program. So we have it there. The policies all there are all policies that are required of the peace officer program. And finally, we do have a traffic safety plan in place, which identifies strategies and initiatives to improve traffic safety within the town of Crossfield, which includes identifying priority areas, educating the public, including the youth, enforcement, CPO training, joint operations with partner agencies such as the RCMP. The Town of Crossfield's Peace Officer Program was audited by the Alberta Justice Solicitor General in 2020, when it was found that we were in full compliance with all the acts and regulations and the Peace Officer Program Policy and Procedures Manual. We do note that many of the enforcement-related bylaws, policies, and plans do require updating, and that will be taking place over the coming months. And with that, administration is seeking a motion that council accepts that summary of municipal enforcement bylaws, policies, and plans as information. And I am here for questions the council may have.
Excellent. Questions for Director Nash? Okay, I'll start. I think that when I see that a lot of our policies are a little older, so I mean, I think we'll have to update that. But what I was asking for when I asked for this, I think, was more of a community peace officer policing plan. which is a strategic document that outlines how CPOs will work to address specific public safety and bylaw enforcement needs within our jurisdiction of Crossfield. And the plan is a local application of the broader community policing philosophy, really emphasizing proactive problem solving and community partnerships. So just a bit of a broader plan on how, say, our CPO works with our CMP, what those roles and responsibilities are, what the community partnerships would be, because I think that a community policing plan isn't just about what the town can do or what RCMP can do, but it is collaboration with local residents, organizations, and businesses to identify community concerns and develop shared solutions. And I'll send all this to you so that you have it. You don't have to write it down. And just a proactive problem solving plan that moves beyond just reacting to calls by RCMP and municipal enforcement, I guess. And then organizational alignment, the CPO services structure, management, and personal practices are aligned to support the goals of community partnerships and problem solving. Transparency and accountability. Just kind of build a strategic overview, more of that strategic plan, mission, vision, values, organizational mandate, stakeholder analysis, community consultations, public education initiatives, goals and priorities, targeted enforcement strategy. What does that look like? Foot, vehicle, bike, focused traffic enforcements or complaint-based investigations. So, and there's a few other things too, and I'll send that on. But I think that just having that collective, robust kind of strategic plan for our community may help in streamlining our municipal enforcement and our RCMP working together. And I know they already do that, but this way, I think it's not just reacting to community and whatnot. We're taking more of a proactive approach, and that's something that I was looking for, and maybe we can look into something like that.
To the chair, certainly, and I have done some background research on those plans as well. So I think what administration can do is take that back, do some research on what that might entail, bring it back to council as far as, and based on that information you've provided,
Mhm.
what we might be able to come up with, provide council with an idea of timelines, costs, those sorts of things to put something like that together.
That'd be great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Who'd like to make a motion?
Through chair,
Councillor Vang.
I'll make a motion that council accept the summary of municipal enforcement bylaw policies and plans as information.
Okay, and we don't have to add, should we add? Yes, thank you. Could you make with the addition of the information from Mayor Harris?
With the addition of the information from Mayor Harris.
I think we want to massage that motion a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe we can say something along the lines of the council accept the summary of municipal enforcement bylaws, policies and plans as information and direct administration to report back on the resource requirements to complete a community policing plan.
That sounds much better.
The intent of that being that administration will clarify what resources that would require, both from a time commitment as well as a costing perspective. And council can, at that point, determine if they want to move forward with that initiative and identify a potential funding source at that point.
Right. Is that what you're saying, what she said?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Did everybody understand that?
Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, 6.5, snow and ice control, comparative survey results and program changes. Director Steve Altina.
Very efficient.
We're just about done, Lindsay. I see Lindsay's going to be in the hot seat in a little bit. Yeah. Excellent.
All right, Steve Altina here to present snow and ice control comparative survey results and program changes. Brought Murray Pollock, our operations foreman as well, to answer all the hard questions tonight.
Nice.
Personal reports to council, the findings of the snow and ice control comparator survey. We conducted that over August and a portion of September. We did send a survey out to 5 similarly sized municipalities: Didsbury, Carstairs, Redwater, Penhold, and Pincher Creek. The survey was open from August 29th to September 23rd, and 3 municipalities responded in full and 1 municipality responded partially. The summary of the survey results are set out in attachment A for council's consideration. So we just wanted to run through kind of the results of the survey and then some suggested program changes that could be considered at budget time with council. This going back obviously to our discussion way back on January 7th when we had a workshop with council on snow and ice control. So we'll just kind of jump into the presentation here. Just for starters, our snow and ice control program, it's a core service that is provided by the town. Safe and efficient snow and ice clearing is obviously essential for public accessibility and safety and mobility. The road and sidewalk snow clearing and removal policy kind of governs how the town goes about clearing snow from sidewalks and roads. Our program commences snow clearing, specifically removal on the roads, commences when the snow is accumulated to about 5 centimeters or 2 inches, or excessive drifting has occurred. Snow removal begins after the snow has stopped, not during the snow event. Then we just have to come back and do roads again. No parking signs are typically posted 24 to 48 hours prior to removal activities, and residents and businesses clear public sidewalks adjacent to their own property. Just for a reminder for council that our roadway clearing, in this case, snow removal, we have it broken down into a priority system. Priority 1 being medical and emergency routes, so some of the main corridors into town. Priority 2 are arterial main collectors, typically being cleared in about 4 days currently. And priority 3 are the green or secondary collectors cleared in about 12 days currently under our current program. And priority 4 residential roads cleared within that 21 days. So all roads cleared, snow removed from all roads in town within that 21-day period. Our equipment and staff, we have a foreman, Murray Pollock, and 4 operators. For equipment, we have a grader, a loader and a snow blower, a backhoe, a bobcat, skid steer, 2 tandems, and a 1-ton truck, 3 backpack blowers, a walk-behind blower, and the new stand-on blower that was in operation earlier this year. Sidewalk and pathway clearing, again, on a priority system. Priority 1 is typically cleared in the first 2 hours. Priority 2 is typically clear in the first day and a half, and our priority 3 is clear within 2 days. So we're clearing all our sidewalks and pathways that are fall under the town's responsibility within about 2 days. In terms of sideways and pathways, we have a supervisor and 1 operator for staff. Equipment is 2 rough terrain vehicles, RTVs, 1 tool cat, and 1 front-mounted tractor mower that uses a variety of attachments during the winter. In 2024, complaints and concerns regarding snow clearing, we received about 18 complaints from road operations and about 4 complaints from sidewalk and pathway snow clearing operations. A lot of them due to ice, or why hasn't my street been cleaned? Why can't the service be a little bit faster? But overall, fairly low levels of concerns and complaints from residents. So we took, again, we had that workshop with council, if you remember, way back to January 7th, 2025. So it's been a little bit of time. And so what we heard from council was there was an interest in expediting snow removal and continuing with that full width removal. off of the streets within town. So that's loading to trucks and hauling to our snow dump and dumping and having that full width removal, curb to curb removal. So we did, as I mentioned earlier, send a survey out to 5 similarly sized municipalities. 4 responded, only 1 partially. Didsbury only provided a partial response, so we kind of excluded them from a bit of our analysis as they only answered a handful of questions. Redwater, Carstairs, and Penhold were kind enough to provide fulsome responses to our survey. So just providing a little bit of survey results for council's consideration here. Obviously, Penhold and us probably closest in size. Carstairs a little bit bigger and Redwater somewhat smaller. In terms of sand salt mix usage, each municipality is using a sand salt mix. I know there's been concerns from council regarding ice control. We did a little bit more last year using the sand salt mix, about 73 tons for ourselves last year. Carstairs uses around 112 tons, Penhold about 110 tons. Redwater used quite a bit. They're a little further north, about 250 tons, and then 50 tons of just straight salt on their roads. In terms of full-time staff for snow and ice control activities, Carstairs has 10 full-time staff in that operations team there. We know a little bit more about Carstairs. They do work in 4-day shifts, 4 10 days. And so there's 7-day-a-week coverage in their operations team there. Penhold indicated they had 12 staff available for snow and ice control activities. And Redwater indicated that they had 8. Our staff includes 7, and that's including our 2 park staff members. Total snow clearing times for the roads, Carstairs reported in at 12 days to remove snow from their roads. I believe their process is similar to ours, where they're clearing curb to curb, full width removal. Penhold was 15 days. Redwater was just 4 days, but I believe they're mostly just plowing. So they're just pushing the snow to a side. They're not having a significant removal operation unless they really have to. So theirs was quite quick, but theirs was mostly focused on plowing. Ours right now for our full town is about 21 days. And then total snow clearing time for sidewalks and pathways, everybody's kind of between 1 to 3 days. We're in 2 days, so we kind of sit really nicely in with those other communities as well. So a lot of this presentation and the recommendations here are going to focus on the road removal of snow rather than the sidewalk and pathway removal from snow. I think we're doing a pretty good job on that standpoint and really kind of in there with kind of our comparative municipalities in terms of a time frame there. So looking at a couple different scenarios, we just kind of pulled on a couple of big levers really for how to improve our timing on our snow response and our snow removal times. So the first scenario we looked at was staffing operations for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that's getting 50 hours of snow removal time in a week instead of that 40 hours. And just keep in mind that, you know, where our guys are working an 8-hour shift, they're getting maybe about 6 to 6.5 hours of actual snow removal time in that shift. There's still maintenance activities, mobilization activities that are involved in that. So if they're working a 10-hour shift, we're looking at making that a little bit more efficient, maybe getting 8 to 8.5 hours of actual snow removal time, you know, out of a 10-hour shift. The second scenario we looked at was staffing operations for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, plus hiring an additional additional driver and truck to haul snow. One of our limiting factors, especially the more we move away from the snow dump, is our ability to haul snow back to the snow dump. So often our snowblower will actually be sitting idle, waiting for the trucks to make the round trip return back to the snowblower. So increasing our hauling capacity can very significantly increase our ability to remove roads. The other scenario is to staff operations for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, plus hire the additional truck driver and truck to haul snow. So that's kind of both pulling on both levers there. So we ran some numbers based on each of those scenarios. So you can see our base. If the chart is clear, you can see kind of our base timing at about 21 days there, just on the far left there. What we estimated if we work 10-hour days with our current, you know, staff complement and our current equipment complement would reduce down to just over 16 days. If we worked 8 hours a day plus the additional truck, would have reduced it down, I guess, about to 16 days there. Penhold itself is about 15 days. If we work 10 hours a day with the additional truck, reducing it down to about 12.5 days, so getting very close to Carstairs kind of level of service there. And then Redwater, again, I think is an outlier in the fact that their level of service they're providing, I believe, is mostly focused on plowing. So if we look at that staffing operations for 10 hours a day, you know, for 5 days a week, hiring an additional driver and truck to haul snow, what we'd see is, you know, the change kind of shown up on the screen here, estimated, you know, this is just running numbers in an Excel sheet. Obviously, we would see something likely different in the field. We clear Railway Street in about 10 hours right now. We'd probably see a reduction, for of a couple hours to clear Railway 7.5 hours. That'll be adjusted a little bit because we're using the new snow blower as well a little bit more. So this data is kind of from the year before. The snow blower. The snow blower is actually reducing our clearing time from 3 people taking 2 hours to clear the street to 1 person taking 1 hour. So the guys can get on the trucks a lot faster. Again, taking our priority route clearing down from probably 2 days to about a day and a half. Priority 2 routes from kind of 4 days to 2.5 days. Priority 3 routes from 12 days to 7 days. And then those priority 4 routes was where we see the big change. That's doing the local residential roads kind of down to 12.5, maybe 13 days snow removal time. To look at the financial implications, this is just staff wages and the additional truck. It's not all of our costs to operate the system, including all our diesel for our existing equipment. For a number event in the base case, just using our existing complement, so just staff wages, to work those 21 days is about $30,500 in staff wages and time to respond to one event. And of course, it scales up as we have a number of events each year. Last year, we just had 1 event. We averaged probably between 3 and 4 events per year. Last year was a very light year on snow. And then you can see as we work our way across to the right side of that table, if we're working 10 hours a day, we're incurring some more overtime costs. So that single event might move to more of a $34,000 kind of staff wages and cost per event. If we move to that 8 hours a day plus that truck, those trucks rent out at, $200 an hour. They're with our guys all day for the whole snow event, providing that support. Costs, increase, around, $16,000 more than kind of that single base case. And then that 10 hours a day plus the truck, again, increasing costs, up to around $48,000 per snow event over that base case. So another, kind of $17,000 above that base case. But again, providing that higher level of service in terms of removing snow much quicker. So our recommendation coming out of this would be that council accept the snow and ice control comparator survey for information, and that council direct administration to include the following in the 2026 budget for further deliberation to improve snow and ice control operations. Staff operations for 10 hours per day and 5 days a week following a snow event, and hire an additional driver and truck to expedite snow removal, and increase usage of a sand salt mixture to improve ice control there, which we estimate would be around $2,000 to $3,000 a year to up our usage of those materials. They're fairly readily available at the Volker's Devon Yard right across from our town shops. So it doesn't take us a lot to get them. And Volker's usually pretty good on their price with us. So
Excellent.
that concludes my presentation. It's fairly quick. We have other information if council or questions on the comparative survey, but yeah, we're here to answer any questions council may have. The intent with this was to identify kind of our 2 big factors that would really increase that snow removal efficiency and effectiveness of our crews. And so we believe that making a change to the shifts and adding that additional truck is really where we'll see a big change in expedited snow removal should council be looking for that. So
Great. Thanks, Director Altina. Any questions?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Steve or Murray, I'm just curious because it keeps mentioning 5 days a week, but it never specifies Monday to Friday. Or so what happens if we get a big storm on a Friday or Saturday? Are you going to wait till Monday to start clearing snow? Because that would be a nightmare for Monday morning commute.
Thank you to the chair, to Councillor Fox. I'll maybe let Murray jump in after I take a stab at this. But my understanding is, if we're having these events on the weekend, the on-call person will call in the resources possibly needed on the weekend. Sometimes we don't get a full response on the weekend though. So it may only be 2 or 3 guys that will get started on the clearing of the priority 1 routes. So really a lot of our operations start fully in earnest, during the week, right? And, I think we look at it, I guess if we're starting to clear snow on a Friday, we assess kind of on a case-by-case basis whether that continues, through the weekend and things like that, right? So not sure, Murray, if you had anything to add.
The chair, historically, when we've had a snow event, if we know a snow event is coming, our main is to get the priority 1s done so that there's mobility through the businesses and through the lodge for emergency services. And then with the direction of the director, we would decide if we were going to continue on with that or if we're going to come back on Monday.
So luckily enough, we've had very few of those in the last several years. So, but that's what we would generally do.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was curious, like, I should have mentioned main arteries at least being done. Yeah, and then looking after the rest. But
Who's here?
Counselor Knight?
Steve, do we think the reason Redwater's turnaround time, and this is the same as the city of Calgary, the city of Calgary just uses belly pan trucks and a lot of salt, and they don't hardly move near as much. So I understand that we talk about using 73 tons, but I notice there's only one town that references the tons of salt they use. Like, I know that we're talking about using the tons that we have, but are we, there's no benefits or there's no reduction of snow removal or hauling if we use salt? And I'm not saying salt's the answer. I look at it from this fact of what this looks at here is the numbers, and the numbers look like the town has to clear less snow due to the salt, and that's what the city of Calgary sort of, when we have communication and talk about it, is at. So are we looking at adding salt more? Like, it's just the tons. I'm just curious if we've reviewed the ideas of what the benefits of salt can be to our snow removal process.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Knight, I think Redwater, again, is doing a lot of plowing and, as you've identified, Calgary is likely using their belly plows and just pushing the snow to a side. And there's different models for how we can clear or remove snow. We did present some of those different options to council back in January. What administration took away from that was that we still are looking for that full width snow removal. Salt's not going to melt all the snow on the street. So I don't think that you're going to see an appreciable decrease in the amount of snow that we would move. And I think, or if you were, we'd have to use probably an enormous amount of salt to achieve that. Certainly administration can look at a simple plowing regimen. We would remove snow from the priority ones and priority twos, perhaps, and plow everybody else. That would go quicker. Streets would see a plow a lot sooner. But council's desire back in January was to continue to see that full width removal, but just an expedited process, right? So salt's a piece of it. Salt helps us manage some of the ice. Salt does melt some of the snow, but I think we would need to use it to appreciably reduce the snow volume on a really large scale that maybe we're perhaps not prepared to do so. Once we exceed 500 tons, we need to start reporting our salt usage to the federal government. We start to have questions about what the salt loading essentially is doing with our natural water courses and things like that as well. So
499 tons it is then.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, and then when we talk about the base case, our 7 staff, they're on wages in the winter and regardless of a snow event, right?
Yes, that's 7 full-time staff that work through the winter, regardless of snow events or not.
Okay, so when we put the base case of 1 snow event, we already have a guaranteed number of staff that are working in the 5 days a week, so the staff wages are locked in right there. Does the base case mean what they normally are paid all the time?
Yeah, so that would be the 5. So we're focused just on roads.
But that's just not snow removal, but like, when we look at this and we look at the events, like, our staff are paid a wage of X, it's in the budget year round.
Yeah. So it's simply a comparator to see how much tweaking, pulling those levers, doing additional staff overtime, adding the truck, how much more it would cost. Like, it's a differential essentially. You could consider anything in the base case really to be
normal
to
day-to-day.
be zero. That's just normal wage.
Normal day-to-day activities. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah,
So-
and perhaps I'll go to that table. And perhaps, I should have called this table difference and zeroed out the base case and just showed the difference.
No,
But,
I think we're right down the path of where I'm going with this question. So that just shows me that the base case is what we're day-to-day normal 6. So that's telling me that it's 17,000 with 10 hours a day with the truck. So no, that totally answers my question, and I'm happy with that. I think we can look to add salt more into the application to 499, like the mayor says, and I think that'll help us our turnaround times. But I do like seeing this, and I do like the idea of, and I've said this before at council meetings, every minute that blower truck isn't moving, it's costing us money.
Yeah.
So if we can keep that thing moving, keep our staff moving, I think that's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Knight.
Great. Questions? I was just curious, You said we were under 200,000 comparably. What was our amount last year for snow removal?
In
We had
terms,
one event.
yeah, one event. So we're under that 200. So that was just based on wages, not equipment time, diesel, things like that.
Okay.
I think if we were to, and again, it was just the way the question was asked in the survey, and we're just trying to compare with how the other municipalities answered in the survey. So certainly we were under the wages that went into, we don't have a specific snow budget. A lot of other bigger municipalities will have a snow budget.
That's right.
Ours is worked into our general operating budget. So
Okay.
the wages that went to, snow removal last year was certainly well under, we had one event, it was probably around $31,000. That was,
So
right? In our normal,
Even if we-
in our normal year, we're having 3 or 4 events. Right, we're probably sitting for wage wise around the $90,000 to $125,000 mark of wages that would go towards that snow
Right.
removal, right?
right.
If that makes sense. Once
It
we
does.
include equipment costs, time, that kind of stuff, our overall, and I think I, showed this to council in January, our overall snow budget, if you can pull it out, is probably close to $300,000 to $350,000, which include all the diesel, the wear and tear on the equipment, all that.
Okay.
All those kind of pieces. So.
Well, I'm pretty happy, with the results here. I think the goal was to, get rid of that buildup of that ice and snow that's kind of continuous throughout the winter. And I think, well, hopefully, this will do it. Adding a little more salt mixture and whatnot, I think will help. And get rid of all those icy streets and intersections. Perfect. Anyone else? All right. Who'd like to make a motion?
Through the chair.
Counselor Knight,
I move that council accept the snow and ice control comparator survey for information that council direct administration to include the following in the 2026 budget for further deliberation to improve snow and ice control operations, staff operations for 10 hours per day, 5 days a week following a snow event, and hire additional driver and truck to expedite snow removal, increase usage of sand salt mixture to improve ice control.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you for that. Okay, item 7, Counselor's business. I attended the fall market. The fall market did very well this year. Food bank did very well at the fall market. Also attended the mayor's and the council forums this past week. Attended mayor's caucus meeting. We're preparing for a meeting with different MLAs and preparing ultimately to present again to the premier and the minister for our request of additional funding for mid-sized towns. I attend regular CEO meetings on a weekly basis, and I've engaged with several members of the public over questions, complaints on weeds and the outdoor rink, which I hear, thanks to the notice, that it should be complete by mid-October. And then lastly, this is our last council meeting together. And I just wanted to thank this current council for the past 4 years. I'm thankful to have worked with a council who cares about the best interest of Crossfield. Good luck to all of those who are running again. And thank you to the 2 Joes for your time and service. It's been a joy to work with all of you. So thank you. Deputy Mayor,
How do you follow that up?
you don't.
Good luck to you too then. I also attended the mayoral and council forums. They were fairly well attended. Beyond that, I actually have nothing further to report.
Okay, Councillor Fox.
I also attended both of the forums as well and tried to answer as many questions as I could that residents threw at me during the evenings. So.
You think you answered questions?
Choice.
Councillor Gustafson.
I attended the counselor forum. That was it for me.
Counselor Knight.
I attended the councilors forum as well. The last 2 weeks, we've had some meetings with the water commission. Things are looking in good direction, so I'm positive with that. I also attended the market on Saturday, the 4th. My visa says we had great vendors and great items. It was fantastic. Could have used a carryout service, but that's okay. No, and I just want to thank the counselors that have been here and the mayor. This has been a good time. I'm looking forward to potentially being reelected and vote on Thursday. There is a pre-vote on Thursday. And there's one on the 20th. Vote. It's important.
You can only do it once, though.
You can only do it once, but you can still vote.
Yeah.
Just come on. I want to see if we get to 1,000 people. That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be awesome? But we have like 2,000 registered to vote, right?
Yeah.
Which is really great. Yeah. Awesome. Counselor Lambert.
I also attended both forums. Want to say that I think everybody did really well on their bid for reelection. I had an MPC meeting on October 3rd, and I have another one on Thursday. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Counselor Bang.
I too attended both the mayoral forum as well as the candidate forum. And on top of that, I also attended the fall farmers market, which was really good. And Cheryl, again, did a great job.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Who'd like to make a motion?
To the chair.
Counselor Knight.
I move the councilor's business be accepted as presented.
All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, item 8.1, monthly administration update. Lindsay Nash, legislative and administrative service manager.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to present the September administrative update. We'll start with Public Works and Infrastructure. Town staff detected a substantial water leak at the town shop service connection in August 2025. When evacuated for repairs on September 11th, the service connection valve separated and the water main was breached. The separation occurred because the valve was not properly secured when installed decades ago. This result was a pressure drop throughout the water system, and residents and businesses lost water for a short time. The break was quickly contained by on-site crews, and water services restored within 10 minutes, but reduced capacity. The town moved to a level 3 water restriction and, out of abundance of caution, issued a boil water advisory. The boil water advisory was deemed prudent as a water supply had been exposed to the ground at the site of the break and lost pressure throughout the system, which may have permitted backflow from the building. The water main was repaired on September 12th, allowing water restrictions to be lifted. The boil water advisory was lifted on September 14th after AHS tested the water samples taken by the town shortly after the break on September 11th, showing no water quality concerns. Town staff wants to thank residents and businesses for their patience and understanding during this time. We would also like to extend our appreciation to the City of Airdrie providing a portable water trailer for residents along with other equipment to the town and to the town of Carstairs for providing staff and equipment in support of the town. The Athabasca Crescent sewer main replacement project is underway and scheduled to be complete later in October. A contractor has been selected to complete the replacement of 2 fire hydrants and 6 water main valves that are not operational. This work will start mid-October and should be completed within 10 to 14 days. The town has engaged with an engineer to complete preliminary engineering for the replacement of bridge file 75095, a bridge-size culvert on Western Drive adjacent to the golf course. This culvert was inspected this year and is in immediate need of replacement and will be included in the capital budget for council's consideration this fall. A lagoon survey was completed with the results showing oh my goodness, I cannot talk tonight. Thank you. Sludge accumulation in the first anaerobic cell, moderate accumulation in the anaerobic aerobic cell, and minor accumulation in the treated effluent storage cell. Costs for desludging will be presented to council in the fall budget. Upcoming, under the grants will be submitted this fall for the Alberta Municipal Wastewater Program for the effluent project and the Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Program for the bridge size culvert replacement project. Under planning and development, Vista Crossing Phase 5 was approved by the subdivision authority on September 16th. And the town has received 3 redesignation applications and 1 subdivision application. 110 development permit applications, including 60 application for new homes and 16 home occupation permits and 9 sign permits so far this year. Under public safety, the municipal enforcement has been dealing with a lot of bylaw concerns and complaints over this past month. Most issues have been related to unsightly properties and dog controls. Peace Officer Arnett has spent a lot of time patrolling and supervising the school zones, especially in front of the schools along Mountain Avenue as youth return to school in September, which they're on pause right now. So the new fire engine was officially put in service on September 2nd. The old engine has been removed from service and is being sold on Gov Deals. Under customer service, administration recorded 416 customer service interactions in the month of September compared to 422 in August. Again, the majority of these interactions involved was under administration, which includes payments and payment inquiries. Crossfield eConnect, which is the eGov program, is now live. We currently have 28 residents registered. And again, we put information out on social media, and when residents call, we also set them up to there or to say, hey, we've got this program. We are continuing to work on a new website platform. The platform will refresh the town's current website, creating a user-focused experience that enhances accessibility, usability, and communication for both residents and businesses. Upcoming, October 9th is the advance poll at the community center, and October 20th is election day, both at the community center. Under community services, several grants have been applied for, including the UFA Rural Communities Grants for lobby washroom upgrades at the arena, a New Horizon for Seniors grant for seniors programming, Alberta Blue Cross Build Together grant for the pump track, Alberta Fire Service training grant for the fire department training initiatives, Rocky View County Community Recreation Capital grant for the pump track. Various sections of the pathway have been replaced as part of the annual replacement program approved in the 2025 capital budget plan. These sections include along Western Drive near the dog park, Range Road 12 where it goes around the CPKC right-of-way, and the pathway leading from Lemon Avenue to Sunset Ridge. Bike Track Limited has been chosen to design and build numerous other projects. This company designed and built the pump track in the Lanark and Bayside developments in Airdrie. Administration toured these facilities and believe a simulator will work very well for Crossfield. A design will be completed over the next 4 to 6 weeks, with construction beginning in 2026. Under administrative services, September 22nd was nomination day, and the town of Crossfield had 14 candidates running in the 2025 municipal election, including 3 for mayor and 11 for councillors. Administration continues to prepare for council orientation and yearly organizational meeting on October 28th. The permanent part-time communication coordinator position closed on October 3rd, and we are currently reviewing resumes and preparing for interviews. The 2026 capital and operating budget presentations are underway, and the Financial Investment Service RFP closed on September 29th, and submissions are being reviewed. And that is the monthly administrative update for September. If you have any
Thank you.
questions, I have my people.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right, questions.
Awesome.
I just have one. Hopefully you know it. The grants that were submitted for the affluent project and the bridge-sized culvert replacement, how much are we applying for the grant, through the grant?
To the mayor, those applications have not yet been submitted. I believe the STIP funding is roughly around 50%, and then the Alberta municipal wastewater funding is 47.52%.
Okay, and then for the wastewater project, are we also going after any federal infrastructure money to top that up.
We had requested a grant funding for up to 50% under the CHIF grant back in March, and we have yet to hear from the federal government.
Right. I have followed up with actually Minister Williams on that.
Mhm.
And him and his staff are following up as to why we haven't heard back. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, no further questions. Can I get a motion?
Through the chair.
Councillor Lambert,
I move that the administrative update be accepted as presented.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And then we'll move on to the outstanding items list with CAO Barney,
Thank you.
tying up the heavy lifting at the end.
With a bow.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. If I may have a moment before we go into the outstanding items list, if that's okay with you.
Mhm.
I joined the town of Crossfield during this tenure of council and this term, and I just want to say thank you for the privilege of being able to work with all of you. It's been a fantastic opportunity. I think we've navigated some challenging times. You've challenged us as an administration. You've collaborated with us as administration, and collectively, we've been able to advance some very significant key priorities for the community and for the betterment of the community. So post-election, some of you may find your ways back here and join us at this table again. And for those that are back with us post-election, I look forward to continuing to work side by side with you as we work towards those key goals and priorities for the community. For those that are not joining us post-election, again, thank you from myself as the CAO on behalf of all of administration for the opportunity to work in collaboration for the betterment of the community. It has truly been my pleasure, and I think I can echo that for administration as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Kinza.
The outstanding items list, there are 2 items here, which I think we may have adjusted at the last council meeting and may have been an oversight on our part. So items 034 and 004 should be noted for Q4 of 2025. So I'd request those be adjusted. And item 026 being the snow removal and ice control program came to council this evening. Council provided direction to administration, and that will show up as part of the 2026 budget discussions. So I would like to request the removal of that item. And that's it for the adjustments to that.
Any questions on the outstanding list? It really is putting a bow on it. Look at that. All right. Who'd like to make a motion?
Through the chair.
Deputy Mayor,
I move that the outstanding items list be accepted as presented.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. One final motion.
Through the chair.
Not all at once.
I think I'm gonna go to Councillor Fox at the end. I think it's been the night show tonight, so we'll let someone else jump in. Excellent, thank you.